Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating evolutionary detective story. We're going to investigate a feeling that, let's be honest, almost all of us know entirely too well. We're looking at the deeply rooted biological connection between our ancient survival instincts and our modern fears. It's a journey that literally takes us from the deepest, darkest nights of human history straight into the modern, artificially lit bedrooms we sleep in today.
I want you to imagine this for a second. You're home alone, late at night. Everything is dead quiet. You turn off the lights and you start walking down a dark hallway. Now, logically, you know your house is perfectly safe, right? There is absolutely nothing there. But the central mystery we're unpacking today is this. Why do rational, grown adults still feel this ancient, creeping sense of panic in the dark? Why does the simple absence of light make us feel so intensely uncomfortable? Well, this reaction isn't just in your head. It is deeply physiological. The second the lights go out and the house gets quiet, your body actually changes. Your heart literally beats a little faster, your muscles start to tense up, you might even get that weird prickling feeling right on the back of your neck, almost like something might be watching you. You know you're alone, yet that feeling relentlessly hangs around. So to figure out why, we need to track down the biological culprit.
Section 1. When darkness was deadly. Now, what's really interesting about this is that thousands of generations ago, the sheer contrast between day and night for early hominids was literally a matter of life and death. Think about it. During the daytime, humans had incredibly high awareness. We could spot predators, snakes, cliffs, and hostile groups from miles away. The visible threats, they were manageable. But at nighttime, that vital awareness was drastically reduced. The exact same environment that was a total safe haven during the daylight abruptly transformed into a landscape of completely hidden dangers. And you know, those hidden dangers were no joke. We're talking ancient nighttime predators like lions, hyenas, wolves, big cats, animals that specifically hunted under the cover of darkness. Remember, ancient humans weren't the strongest or the fastest animals out there. We didn't have sharp claws, and we certainly couldn't see in the dark. Our absolute greatest evolutionary advantage was our awareness. So when darkness stripped that awareness away, natural selection heavily, and I mean heavily, rewarded the individuals who maintained extreme caution against these unseen nocturnal predators.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 2, your brain on uncertainty.
Allow me to introduce you to your own internal alarm system, the amygdala. This is a tiny structure deep inside your brain that plays a massive role in detecting threats. The absolute crucial thing to understand here is that the amygdala reacts fast. It triggers fear responses way before your conscious, logical mind even fully understands what's going on. It's this beautiful biological system that evolved specifically to keep you alive when you are suddenly plunged into uncertainty. Let's move on and see how this builds. Because when the lights go out, it kicks off a very specific physiological chain reaction. First, your visual data drops. Immediately, the amygdala fires. Because visibility is reduced, your brain automatically assumes the worst just to keep you safe. Your heart rate spikes to pump blood. Your muscles tense up to prepare for action. Your attention aggressively sharpens. This is a fast-track biological response happening in your body right now, even when you're just, walking to the kitchen for a midnight snack. And this brilliantly illustrates the evolutionary mathematics of fear. Imagine hearing a rustling in the bushes 100,000 years ago. Waiting around for absolute proof before you react? That could be deadly. If your brain triggers a false alarm and you jump at a harmless little rabbit, well, you look silly, but you live. But ignoring a real threat because you wanted to be certain, yeah, that has a fatal outcome. Your brain learned the hard way that it's always biologically better to prepare for a danger that isn't there than to ignore one that is. So this also totally explains why our senses seem to play tricks on us. When visual info drops, your brain desperately compensates by cranking up the sensitivity of your other senses, especially your hearing. Suddenly, a creaking floorboard, a tapping window, or just a distant noise outside sounds absolutely terrifying. Your brain becomes hyper-aware of sounds because, for your ancestors, hearing a predator in the dark before seeing it was literally the only way to save their lives.
Section 3, the power of imagination.
The human brain constantly predicts what's happening around us. It absolutely hates a vacuum. So when darkness removes that visual information, your brain just starts filling in the gaps. You might look in the corner of your bedroom and see what is actually just a coat hanging on a chair, but without enough light, your imagination steps in to complete the picture, and it often turns it into a threatening shadow or some lurking monster. Actually, horror movies use this principle flawlessly. What you can't see is almost always more frightening than what you can, because your imagination fills that void with your worst fears. And this directly explains why the fear of the dark is so intensely common among kids.
Young children have these incredibly vivid imaginations, but they have way less life experience. As adults, we've spent years and years proving to our logical brains that the dark in our homes is usually completely safe. But children, they simply haven't built up that logical confidence yet, so their developing brains let their imaginations just run completely wild in the shadows. Bringing us to Section 4, Ancient Brains, Modern Lights. So the crucial point is this. For millions of years, human survival depended on navigating absolute darkness. Then we had the limited flickering glow of firelight. It's really only in the past 150 years or so that we've had widespread artificial electricity. That's a blip. Evolution moves super slowly, but technology moves at lightning speed. We're essentially walking around with ancient brains perfectly tuned for surviving the deadly prehistoric night, but we're living in modern, brightly lit environments. It's exactly why our highly evolved survival instincts now mostly just serve to make us sprint up the basement stairs after turning off the light. Honestly, the takeaway here is incredibly empowering. Fear of the dark isn't a weakness. It's a highly sophisticated, incredibly successful biological survival tool that encourages caution. Bottom line, it kept your ancestors alive. When you understand these evolutionary roots, it genuinely reduces the power the fear has over you. When your heart races in the dark, you aren't sensing a monster. You're just experiencing the echoes of millions of years of perfectly calibrated evolutionary programming.
It all really comes down to this. The dark itself isn't the enemy. It's the uncertainty hidden within it. For most of human history, darkness was the ultimate symbol of mystery. We aren't actually afraid of the absence of light. We're utterly terrified of the unknown that the lack of light conceals. Because for millions of years, uncertainty was something humans could literally never afford to ignore.
So, I leave you with this final thought. The next time you turn out the lights and walk down that quiet hallway, will you recognize the ancient evolutionary programming keeping you safe? The next time you feel that little spike of adrenaline, I challenge you to appreciate your own biological alarm system, doing exactly what it was built to do. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.